Let me tell you something that might catch you off guard. A woman can totally be in love with you and still take you for granted. Seriously, it happens way more often than you'd think. And the crazy part is, we usually don't even realize we're doing it. It's like we're on autopilot. It's not until you're gone, or you finally stop chasing us, that things start to change. That's when everything flips around. That's when the silence gets deafening. And that's when we start missing the guy we swore we didn't even need. Here's the real deal. Most women aren't master manipulators plotting your downfall. We're driven by our emotions. We're impulsive. We're constantly searching for that deeper connection. But we also like to test the waters, see where the boundaries are. Sometimes we mistake your consistency for weakness, like you're a pushover. Sometimes we confuse your patience for a lack of other options, like you're settling for us. And sometimes we just assume you'll always be there, no matter what, until you're suddenly not. See, when a woman starts to feel like you've stopped revolving around her, when your energy starts to fade, when your presence isn't as constant as it used to be, when you're suddenly not as available as you once were, it's like a switch flips inside her. And that's when the missing starts to kick in. But by then, it's not so much about what you're actually doing. It's about how she feels in your absence, that void you've left behind. This isn't about pointing fingers or bashing women. It's about giving you the straight truth from a woman's perspective, laying it all out on the table. So you can stop racking your brain trying to figure out what went wrong and start to really understand how this dynamic plays out in real life. Because trust me, there are signs. There are subtle psychological moments when a woman starts to miss the very man she overlooked. And if you're a guy who's been taken for granted before, or if you're pulling back right now, trying to figure out what she might be feeling in the silence, this is definitely for you. I'm going to break it down for you step by step. Not from some textbook definition, but from the way we actually think, the way we actually feel when we realize we might have lost a guy who is more special than we thought. 1. It hits hard when you stop reaching out. You want to know the exact moment we start missing you? It's not when we're arguing and bickering. It's not even when we're giving you the cold shoulder or acting like we don't care. It's when your name stops popping up on our phone. You stop checking in on us. You stop texting us. You stop sending those little updates that we used to pretend were annoying. And that's when the silence really starts to sink in. Not just outside, but deep inside us. You see, most women are used to being pursued, being courted. We're used to a guy proving himself, showing up consistently, even when we're being difficult or playing hot and cold. And when a guy keeps showing up like that, it makes us feel like we're on top of the world. We think we've got him wrapped around our finger. And in that kind of mindset, it's easy to start taking him for granted without even realizing it's happening. But when he stops, that's when reality hits. At first, it feels like confusion. Like, why hasn't he messaged me today? Then that confusion turns into obsessively checking our phone, refreshing our social media feeds, watching your stories just to see what you're up to, even if we don't like or comment. We can feel that shift in your energy, and our ego just doesn't know how to handle it. And don't think it takes a long time. A few days, maybe a week of distance, is often enough to make a woman who is just begging for space suddenly feel anxious about what you're doing without her. We start wondering, did he meet someone else? Is he mad at me? Did I screw things up? Is he really done with me for good? What you need to understand is that when a woman pulls back or acts like she doesn't care, it's often a test, a way to gauge how much you're willing to fight for her. But if you just walk away instead, it shocks her system because, deep down, she expected you to hang in there. And when you don't, she starts to realize just how much she relied on your presence, your voice, your attention, your reliability. The things she once overlooked suddenly become the things she starts to crave. You stop reaching out, and that's the exact moment she starts realizing what she's losing. And the worst part for her is that she can't just pick up where she left off because now you've changed. You're no longer chasing her. You're no longer freely giving your energy. And suddenly, she's the one who has to chase. That shift, that's when the missing really begins. 2. We start remembering all the things you did that we didn't appreciate. You know what's crazy? We don't miss you for the grand gestures, the big romantic outings. We miss you for the little things, the things we didn't even realize mattered until you stopped doing them. It's not about the fancy dinners or the over-the-top surprises. It's about how you used to text us good morning every single day, without fail. How you always seemed to notice when we were tired, even when we were pretending to be fine. How you'd show up, not with a bouquet of roses, but with our favorite snack. Or how you'd remember some random thing we said in passing that no one else even caught. We remember how you made us feel. Safe, heard, chosen. But here's the kicker. At the time, we didn't always appreciate it. We just got used to it, got comfortable, maybe even a little entitled. We just assumed that was who you were, the nice guy, the one who always cared, always gave, always showed up. And when we were wrapped up in our own moods, frustrations, or selfish moments, we probably made you feel like none of that mattered, like all your efforts were completely invisible. But once you're gone, those same things echo loudly in our minds. We start missing that steady, calming presence. The way you supported us without needing any recognition. The way you forgave us when we weren't at our best. And we feel it not because you stopped doing it, but because no one else does it the way you did. We start comparing every new guy we meet to you. And here's an honest truth that most women won't admit. When we find ourselves around guys who don't show that same emotional depth, who don't pay attention to the details, who don't see us the way you did, that's when the regret really starts to sink in. Because now we get it. We realize we didn't just lose someone who liked us. We lost someone who actually cared. We lost someone who gave way more than he got. Someone who was emotionally intelligent, aware, present. And that kind of guy is incredibly rare. It hits us when we're lying in bed scrolling through our phones, and we see something that instantly reminds us of you. It hits us when someone else gets annoyed at us instead of being patient and understanding. It hits us when we try to open up to someone new and realize it's just not the same connection. You taught us a kind of love we didn't even realize we needed until it was gone. And by the time we finally understand what we had, you're already out of reach. So yeah, we miss you. But even more than that, we miss how we felt when we were with you. And if you've ever wondered if she thinks about all those little things you did, she does more than you could ever know. 3. We start playing it cool, but on the inside, we're spiraling out of control. When we realize we've taken a good guy for granted, we don't always admit it right away. Actually, most of the time, we try to play it cool. We'll act like we're completely unbothered, post a few living my best life stories on social media, maybe even start casually talking to someone else. Not because we're over you, but because we're desperately trying to look like we are. It's a defense mechanism. We definitely don't want you to know that we're thinking about you, that we're replaying every single conversation in our head, wondering if we push things too far, if we mistook your love for weakness, and worst of all, that maybe we lost you for good. On the inside, we're spiraling, quietly, secretly, but we'll never show it. That's just part of how women cope with regret. We compartmentalize. We try to bury it under distractions, attention from others, validation, but none of it really works. Because the truth is, when a woman feels emotionally connected to a man and loses that connection, it doesn't just disappear. It sticks around. It haunts her. We'll see you moving on, glowing up, maybe even doing the things we always said we wanted, but now you're doing them without us. And that stings, because now we realize it wasn't that you weren't good enough. It was that we didn't recognize your true value in time. But even then, we won't come running back. Not right away. We'll wait. We'll see if you reach out. We'll secretly hope that you still care, still check in, still wonder about us. And when you don't, the panic starts to set in. We start asking ourselves questions we never considered before. Was I too cold? Did I expect too much? Did I make him feel unappreciated? Does he completely hate me now? And it gets even worse when you go completely silent because now we have absolutely no idea where we stand. And women hate uncertainty, especially when it comes from a guy we assumed would always be there for us. See, we often assume that we have all the time in the world, that you'll be waiting patiently for us, that we can pull away and you'll chase us, that we can test your patience and you'll always stay. But when you don't, when you actually stop showing up, stop calling, stop caring, that's when we really start to lose it on the inside. We might pretend to be unbothered, but trust me, the silence is louder than anything you could possibly say. It forces us to sit with everything we ignored, all the ways we mistreated you, all the amazing things you did that we brushed off like they were nothing. And the longer you stay silent, the more we realize that you really might not come back this time. That's when missing you turns into genuine regret. And that regret turns into a serious wake-up call. Not every woman gets to that point, but the ones who truly cared, even if they didn't act like it when they had you, they feel it deeply when they lose you. For the ego battles begin, but emotion always wins in the end. Let me be completely real with you for a second. When we start missing a guy we once took for granted, it's not just a quiet little longing. There's a full-blown internal war going on inside us. One part of us is screaming, "You messed up big time. You pushed away a really good man." And the other part is stubbornly saying, "No, stay strong. Don't let him see you're hurting. He should have fought harder for you." That constant battle between our ego and our emotions is brutal. The ego is just trying to protect us. It tells us not to admit we were wrong, not to apologize, not to make the first move, because if we do, it feels like weakness, like we're giving up all our power. And a lot of women, especially the ones who are used to being in control or being chased, will cling to that feeling of power, even when it's costing them the connection they truly want. But you can't keep emotions buried forever. The truth is, we do feel it. Missing you hits us in waves. Sometimes it's late at night when everything is quiet and still. Sometimes it's when we see something that instantly reminds us of you. Sometimes it's when we're laughing with someone new and suddenly realize that it's just not the same, that they don't make us feel the way you did. That's when the emotional part of us starts pushing through all the defenses. We start admitting things to ourselves that we were too proud to say out loud before. Like, I expected him to read my mind. I wanted him to keep chasing me, not realizing he was already exhausted from constantly proving himself. I acted like I didn't need him, but I actually did. And when all those emotions start piling up, the ego starts to lose its grip. But here's where it gets tricky. We don't always show that emotional shift right away. You might not see any change on the outside. You might think we've already moved on, but inside, we're wrestling with what we're feeling and what we're too afraid to admit. Sometimes we'll test the waters a little bit, like watching your Instagram stories, liking an old post, sending a casual, "Hey, hope you're doing well" message that doesn't really say much, but secretly means, "I'm still thinking about you." It's not always that we're expecting a full-blown reconciliation right away. A lot of times, we just want to know that we can still reach you, that the door isn't completely shut, that we haven't lost you forever. But if we sense that you've truly checked out, that you're emotionally gone, that your energy has shifted for real, that's when emotion completely shatters the ego's defenses. And what was once just missing you turns into that awful pit in the stomach feeling that women almost never talk about out loud. Regret with no way to go back. And believe me, no woman wants to stay stuck in that feeling. It's painful, it's humbling, and it makes us wish we could rewind everything we said and did when we thought we had all the time in the world. 5. When we see you glow up without us, it hits differently. You want to know when we really start to miss you? It's not always right after the breakup. It's not even when the silence starts to kick in. No, it's when we see that you haven't just given up on living your life. It's that moment when we realize you're not sitting around feeling sorry for yourself, waiting for us to come back. That's when it really hits. I remember this one guy I was seeing. We had been on and off for a while. And honestly, I thought I had the upper hand in the relationship. He was kind, patient, emotionally stable, but I treated those qualities like they were safe, not sexy. I just assumed he'd always be there no matter what. Then one day, I was looking at his Instagram, and it was like he was a completely different person. He looked lighter, happier, more free. He was out at events, traveling, hitting the gym, smiling in a way he never did when we were together. There was no bitterness, no passive-aggressive captions, just genuine peace. And I absolutely hated it. Not because I wanted him to be miserable, but because I suddenly realized that I no longer had any power over him. I had let a good man go, and now he was shining without me. I can't even lie, I totally panicked. I wanted to reach out so badly. I even typed out a message a few times and then deleted it. I kept thinking, was I really that forgettable? Did I even matter at all? Here's the thing. When a guy pulls away, We might roll our eyes and act like we don't care, but when a guy levels up and starts thriving, we definitely notice. Women always notice when a man stops chasing them and starts glowing from within. It creates a psychological shift in us that's impossible to ignore. Suddenly, we're not the ones evaluating you anymore. We feel like we're being evaluated, and we're not sure we measure up. And the worst part is, when it's obvious that you're not trying to prove anything to us, that's when it cuts the deepest, because women can always tell when a man is showing off just to get their attention, and when he's genuinely in his own zone, moving on and rebuilding his life. When we took you for granted, we assumed you'd still be in the same place emotionally, waiting for us to come around. But when we see that you're not, when your energy changes, when you're calm and completely unbothered, when your silence has substance, it forces us to face something we've been trying to avoid. We were part of the problem. And once that thought sets in, it doesn't just go away quietly. We start thinking about all the amazing things you brought to the table, your consistency, your gentleness, your strength, all the things we didn't fully appreciate in the moment. And now we're watching another version of you, the healed, evolving version that we no longer have access to. It stings. And that's when the missing truly begins. But not the light, casual kind of missing. It's the sick-to-your-stomach kind. The kind that wakes you up in the middle of the night and makes you wonder how you could have possibly let someone like you slip away. 6. When you stay silent, it forces us to feel everything. Let me tell you something you probably don't hear from women very often. Silence from a man who used to care deeply is like psychological warfare, but in the best way possible. Because here's what really happens behind the scenes. When we take a guy for granted, it's usually because we assume he'll always be around. Whether you're soft-spoken, quick to forgive, or just emotionally available in general, a lot of women translate that as safe, which unfortunately can be mistaken for expendable. But when that same guy goes completely quiet, when you stop checking in, stop reacting to things we do, stop trying to fix everything, it doesn't just create a void, it creates a whole lot of tension. It makes space for a lot of reflection, and that's extremely dangerous for us, because the silence becomes like a mirror. A mirror we can't look away from. Without your voice constantly in our lives, we're forced to listen to our own thoughts. And that's when the really difficult questions start creeping in. Did I mess this up beyond repair? Why hasn't he called me? Was he really that into me in the first place? Wait a second, is he actually over me already? And trust me, those thoughts start spiraling out of control really fast, because once we sense that you're no longer emotionally invested, it doesn't feel like peace to us. It feels like a brutal rejection. Even if we were the ones who pushed you away in the first place, even if we were the ones who walked away first, your silence starts to feel like a punishment, even though you're not actively doing anything but minding your own business. And here's what most guys don't realize. When a woman knows that she took a man for granted and he doesn't reach out to her, she doesn't feel empowered. She feels like she's been replaced. And that fear grows quietly every single day, because we start watching to see if you've moved on, checking to see if you've changed, subtly asking around, looking for your name online. And if we don't find anything, it absolutely drives us crazy, because we know exactly what that means. You're gone. Not temporarily, not just waiting it out, but completely and irrevocably gone. And deep down, every woman who's ever taken a man for granted fears one thing above all else: that you'll finally realize your own worth without needing her validation. So, if you're in that silent phase right now, wondering if she's even thinking about you, the answer is probably yes. But more importantly than that, it's not just that she's thinking about you. It's that she's feeling a whole range of emotions. She's sitting in a space that she's not used to being in, one where she's not in control, where her feminine influence doesn't sway you anymore. And when a woman feels that kind of emotional disconnection from a man she once dismissed, that's when regret really starts to show up. Not loudly and dramatically, but quietly and deeply. So don't break the silence just because it feels uncomfortable for you. You have absolutely no idea how powerful it really is, or how much clarity it's creating within her. 7. If you let her treat you like you're replaceable, she will. Let me be blunt and straightforward here, because sometimes you guys need to hear this from a woman who actually respects you. If you allow a woman to treat you like you're an afterthought, if you keep showing up for her when she clearly isn't showing up for you, if you keep trying to prove your loyalty to someone who just doesn't value it, then you're basically teaching her that you're replaceable. And I promise you, once a woman truly believes that about you, she'll start acting like it's true. Now, I'm not saying that women are inherently cruel or heartless, but we are emotional, intuitive, and when it comes to dating and relationships, we're extremely reactive to how a man presents himself. If you're always available, always agreeable, always forgiving, even when we cross boundaries that we shouldn't be crossing, we stop really feeling your value as a partner, and instead, we start seeing your desperation. And that's a really unattractive energy to be around, because here's an uncomfortable truth. Women don't respect what we can control completely.